The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter looked empty to most scanners. That was the point. Hidden among the rocks and ice, something massive waited in the darkness. Captain Tejo stood on the bridge of the UES Titan's Wrath and watched the stars through the viewport. His reflection stared back at him, a man in his 40s with tired eyes and a scar running down his left cheek. He had earned that scar 10 years ago during the Mars Rebellion, when colonists fought for their rights against Earth corporations. He had been on the side of the colonists then. Now he commanded Earth's greatest secret. "Captain, all systems are green," said Haywan from the engineering station. She was younger than Tejo, barely 30, but her mind had solved problems that older scientists said were impossible. She had figured out how to pull unlimited energy from the fabric of space itself. That discovery made this ship possible. Tejo nodded. "Good. How long until the weapon test?" 10 minutes, sir." The ship around them was enormous, 12 kilometers from bow to stern, covered in armor plates and weapons. It had taken 15 years to build in secret. 15 years of mining asteroids, of stolen technology, of brilliant engineers working in hidden facilities. The galaxy thought humans were weak, confined to one small star system. They had no idea what was coming. Bo Young, the tactical officer, turned from her console. Her face showed no emotion, as always. "Target asteroid confirmed. It's 300 kilometers away. No life signs in the area. No traffic within 5 light hours." "Then we're clear," Tejo said. He touched the communications button. "Admiral Sang-mi, we're ready for the test." The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. She was older, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Proceed, Captain. Show me what 15 years of work can do." Tejo gave the order. "Hey-1, charge the gravity lance," the ship hummed. Deep in its core, the weapon powered up. The gravity lance was not like normal weapons. It didn't shoot bullets or lasers. It twisted gravity itself into a beam of pure destruction. The scientists said it could crack a planet in half. Today they would find out if that was true. Lance charged, Haywan reported. "Ready to fire." Fire, the ship shuddered. A beam of invisible force shot from its spine and crossed the distance in a heartbeat. The asteroid simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, solid rock that had floated in space for billions of years. The next moment, nothing. Not even dust remained. But something else happened. The beam punched through normal space and touched something deeper. A ripple spread out through subspace, the hidden dimension that ships use to travel faster than light. The ripple was like throwing a stone into a pond, and the waves spread far and fast. "What was that?" Tejo asked. Haywan's fingers flew over her console. Her face went pale. The weapon created a subspace shockwave. "It's spreading across multiple sectors. Anyone with subspace sensors will detect it. How many will see it?" "Everyone, Captain. Everyone in this part of the galaxy." Tejo felt his stomach drop. They had wanted to test the weapon in secret. Now they had announced their presence to the entire galaxy. He looked at Admiral Sang-mi on the screen. The Admiral's face was calm. "Well, Captain, I suppose our secret is out." 3 days later, the messages started arriving. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Who had caused the subspace disturbance? What weapon could do such a thing? The Council's tone was not friendly. It was the voice of parents scolding a child who had played with matches. Ambassador Jamin stood in the Earth government building, reading the messages with shaking hands. He was Earth's representative to the galaxy, the man who spent years trying to make alien powers take humanity seriously. Now they were paying attention, but not the way he wanted. "They're demanding an inspection," he told President Daijung. "A fleet is already on its way to our system. They want to see what we've built." President Daijung was a careful man who had spent his career avoiding war. "Can we refuse?" "If we refuse, they'll assume the worst. They might attack. And if we let them inspect, they'll see the Titan's wrath. They'll demand we dismantle it. They'll say we're too dangerous, too primitive to have such power." Jamin looked out the window at the blue Earth below. Humanity had reached for the stars only to find they were not welcome. The 3 great powers of the galaxy, the Velic Ascendancy, the Moth Collective, and the Kryn Federation, had divided space between them long ago. New species were given small territories and told to be grateful. Humans were expected to mine asteroids, provide cheap labor, and never ask for more. That's why Earth had built the Titan's wrath in secret. They had known the galaxy would never let them build it openly. Far from Earth, on the Velic homeworld, High Magistrate Velthar read the reports about the subspace disturbance. The humans had done something Something powerful. He smiled to himself. This was perfect. For years he had profited from keeping humanity weak, from controlling their trade routes and charging them unfair prices. Now they had given him a reason to put them in their place permanently. Prepare my fleet, he ordered. 40 ships. We're going to the human system, and we're going to show them what happens when children play with weapons they don't understand. His assistant hesitated. Should we wait for council approval? We are the council, Belthar said. The humans will learn to respect their betters. On the Titan's wrath, Captain Tejo received word of the approaching fleet. 40 Velic warships, the message said. Armed and ready. They would arrive in 2 days. What are our orders? Bo Young asked. Tejo read Admiral Sangmi's message carefully. We're to intercept them. Show them the ship, but we don't fire unless they fire first. And if they do fire, Tejo looked around his bridge. At Heywan and her brilliant mind. At Bo Young and her cold efficiency. At the crew who had trained for years for this moment. They had built something incredible, something that scared even him sometimes, but it was built for a reason. If they fire, he said quietly, we show them why they shouldn't have. The ship moved out from the asteroid belt, leaving its hiding place for the first time. As it emerged into open space, its full size became visible to anyone watching. 12 kilometers of human determination and engineering genius, the largest warship ever built by human hands. Earth's silent guardian was silent no more. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you pushed humanity too far. The Velic fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 40 warships, each one bristling with weapons and painted in the red and gold colors of the Velic ascendancy. They had come to teach the humans a lesson about respect. High Magistrate Velthar sat in his command chair aboard the flagship and looked at the star ahead. The human sun, a small ordinary star with a few rocky planets and one world covered in water and life. He had been to Earth once, years ago, when humans first joined the galactic community. They had seemed so grateful then, so eager to please. Now they had built something that disturbed subspace itself. It was unacceptable. Scan the system, he ordered. Find their weapon. His sensors officer worked quickly. Sir, detecting normal traffic around Earth and Mars. Mining operations in the asteroid belt, but wait, there's something else. What is it? A massive sensor contact. It's huge, sir. Bigger than anything I've ever seen. Velthar leaned forward. Show me. The main screen changed to show a ship. No, not a ship. A monster. It was shaped like a dagger, all sharp angles and heavy armor. Weapons covered every surface. And it was big. Impossibly big. How large is that thing? Velthar asked, his voice tight. 12 kilometers, sir. It's larger than our entire fleet combined. For a moment, Velthar said nothing. He had expected a station, maybe, or a large weapon platform. Not this. Not a mobile warship that dwarfed everything he had brought. But he was High Magistrate. He could not show fear in front of his crew. It doesn't matter how big it is, he said. Size is not everything. Open a channel to the human government. On Earth, Ambassador Jamin received the call in his office. He had not slept in 2 days. The council had been sending angry messages. Earth's own government was arguing about what to do, and Admiral Sangmi refused to tell him the full capabilities of the Titan's wrath. Ambassador, Velthar's face appeared on his screen. The Galactic Council has authorized an inspection of your military assets. You will provide full access to your new weapon or face severe consequences. Jamin tried to keep his voice steady. High Magistrate, we're willing to discuss this through proper diplomatic channels. But your fleet entered our system without permission. That's a violation of... You violated galactic law when you built that monstrosity. Velthar interrupted. Primitive species are not allowed to construct dreadnought-class vessels. You know this. Submit to inspection, or we will be forced to take action. What kind of action? Velthar smiled. It was not a kind smile. The kind that ensures you never threaten galactic peace again. The transmission ended. Jamin put his head in his hands. Everything was falling apart. He had spent years building relationships with alien powers, trying to show them that humans could be trusted. Now it was all being destroyed. His communicator buzzed. It was Admiral Sangmi. I heard the conversation, the Admiral said. Don't worry, Ambassador. We're not going to let them bully us. Admiral, they have 40 ships, and we have one. Let's see if that's enough. On the Titan's wrath, Captain Tejo gave the order to move forward. The great ship glided through space, passing the orbit of Mars and heading toward the Velic fleet. Behind him, Bo Young worked her tactical console with quick, efficient movements. "Their fleet is holding position," she reported. "They're watching us approach." "Let them watch," Tejo said. "Hey, One, what's our shield status?" "All shield generators online and charged," the engineer replied. "We could take a hit from every ship in that fleet and barely notice. Let's hope we don't have to test that." The Titan's wrath came to a stop 10,000 kilometers from the Valak fleet. At this distance, both sides could see each other clearly. The size difference was shocking. The 40 Valak warships looked like toys next to the human dreadnought. Tejo opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Tejo of the United Earthship Titan's Wrath. You have entered our star system without permission. Leave now and there will be no trouble." Velthar's laugh came through the speakers. "You dare give me orders? Your entire species exists because we allow it. You will submit to inspection or we will disable your ship and take it by force." "I'm giving you one chance," Tejo said, his voice cold. "Turn your ships around and leave. Or what? You'll hide behind that oversized cargo hauler? Let me show you something, human." Velthar gave an order. One of his warships fired a plasma bolt at the Titan's Wrath. It was meant as a warning shot aimed at the bow section. The bolt crossed the distance in seconds and struck the shields. Nothing happened. The plasma splashed against the invisible barrier and disappeared. The Titan's Wrath didn't even shake. Haywan checked her readings and smiled. "Their most powerful weapon. It didn't even lower our shields by 1%. Tejo took a deep breath. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this. But Velthar had fired first. Now everything changed. "Tactical lock weapons on all 40 ships," he ordered. "Target their engines and weapon systems. Fire when ready." "Yes, sir," Bo Young said. Her fingers moved across her console. "Firing." The Titan's Wrath had 200 railguns mounted along its hull. Each one could fire a projectile at a fraction of light speed. Bo Young fired all of them at once. The Velak fleet never had a chance. In 47 seconds, every single warship was hit multiple times. Engines exploded. Weapon arrays shattered. Ships spun out of control, power failing, systems dying. Not one ship was destroyed completely, but all of them were dead in the water. Velthar stared at his screens in disbelief. His fleet, his powerful fleet, defeated in less than a minute, and the human ship hadn't even moved. "Sir, all ships reporting heavy damage," his officer said, voice shaking. "Engines offline. Weapons offline. Life support is on backup power." "How?" Velthar whispered. "How is this possible?" Tejo's voice came through the speakers again. "I gave you a chance to leave. You chose to fire on us in our own home. Now you're going to drift here until we decide what to do with you. You can't do this. The council will do nothing," Tejo said, "because we have recordings of everything that happened. You fired first. We defended ourselves, and we showed mercy by not destroying you completely." The truth of that hit Velthar like a physical blow. The human was right. They could have killed everyone. Instead, they had simply disabled the fleet. It was a calculated move, a message sent to the entire galaxy. "We can destroy you, but we choose not to." On Earth, news of the battle spread in minutes. People gathered in the streets watching screens that showed the Titan's Wrath floating among the disabled Valak ships. Some cheered. Others looked worried. President Daejung sat in his office watching the same footage and wondered if they had just started a war they couldn't win. Ambassador Jamin received another call, this one from the Galactic Council itself. Multiple species, all talking at once, all demanding explanations. Some called for war against humanity. Others urged caution. The galaxy had never seen a single ship defeat 40 warships so easily. On the Kryn homeworld, War Master Gren watched the battle footage for the 10th time. He was old, a veteran of countless conflicts, and he recognized something terrifying in what he saw. The human ship hadn't used its full power. Those railguns were just the beginning. If they had a weapon that could disturb subspace, what else did they have? He made a call to his government. "Do not attack the humans," he said. "Not yet. We need to understand what we're dealing with." But not everyone listened. The Moth Collective, ancient and proud, began gathering their forces. The Valak, humiliated and angry, called for revenge. And small species across the galaxy watched and wondered if humanity would be their savior or their doom. On the Titan's Wrath, Captain Tejo sent a message to the entire galaxy. It was short and simple. "We did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to be free. Respect our home, respect our rights, and we will be your friends. Threaten us, and you will see what we can do. The message ended. The galaxy held its breath. Lieutenant Eunice sat in the cockpit of her fighter and watched the disabled Velic ships floating in space. Her squadron, 12 small craft, had launched from the Titan's Wrath 30 minutes ago. Their mission was unusual: rescue the aliens who had just tried to threaten them. "This is strange," her wingman said over the radio. "We beat them and now we're saving them." "Orders are orders," Una replied. She was young, only 25, but she had trained her whole life for space combat. "The captain wants to show mercy. That means we pull them out before their life support fails." She guided her fighter close to Velthar's flagship. The alien ship was dark, power nearly gone. She could see faces in the windows, scared faces. Good. Maybe they would learn something from this. Inside the flagship, High Magistrate Velthar sat in darkness. Emergency lights gave everything a red glow. His officers were silent, shocked by their defeat. When the human fighters appeared outside, some of them reached for weapons. "Don't," Velthar said quietly. "They've won. Let them help us." The humans sent over power cells and life support equipment. They worked quickly and efficiently, asking nothing in return. One human pilot, a young woman, even waved at him through the window. She was smiling. The High Magistrate didn't know whether to feel grateful or insulted. Back on Earth, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in virtual space, their holographic forms filling a massive chamber. The topic was simple: what to do about humanity. Ambassador Jamin attended, knowing he would face anger from all sides. He was right. As soon as he appeared, the shouting began. "You have violated every treaty," shouted a Velic representative. "You built a weapon of mass destruction without permission." "We built a ship to defend ourselves," Jamin replied, keeping his voice calm. "After decades of being treated as second-class citizens, we decided to ensure our own security." "By threatening everyone else?" asked a representative from the Moth Collective. Her voice was old and cold, like wind over ice. "Your ship could destroy any fleet in the galaxy. How are we supposed to trust you with such power? You've had such power for centuries," Jamin said. "Why is it only a problem when humans have it?" That created silence. The truth was uncomfortable. The three great powers had kept their own massive fleets for generations. They had used those fleets to control trade, to dominate weaker species, to maintain their position at the top. Now a new player had arrived, and they didn't like it. War Master Gren from the Kryn Federation spoke up. He was an old alien with scarred skin and tired eyes. "The ambassador makes a fair point. We have kept power to ourselves and prevented others from rising. Perhaps that was a mistake, and are you defending them?" another voice demanded. "I'm stating facts," Gren replied. "The humans defeated 40 warships without destroying a single one. They showed restraint. They showed mercy. If they wanted war, we would already be at war. Instead, they're rescuing the crews of ships that attacked them. What does that tell you?" It told them something they didn't want to hear. Humanity was powerful but not cruel. That made them harder to fight, harder to condemn. A monster could be killed without guilt. But how did you attack someone who showed mercy? On the medical deck of the Titan's Wrath, Dr. Kijun treated wounded Velic soldiers. Most had minor injuries from when their ships were hit. He worked quickly, his hands steady as he bandaged wounds and set broken bones. One Velic soldier looked up at him with wide eyes. "Why are you helping us?" "We came to destroy your ship," Kijun smiled gently. "You came to do what your leaders ordered. That's not your fault. Besides, we're all living beings. Why wouldn't I help?" The soldier had no answer for that. In his culture, enemies were enemies. You didn't show them kindness. But these humans were different. They fought like demons when attacked, but cared for the wounded like friends. It confused him. Captain Tejo stood on the bridge and read reports from across the galaxy. The battle footage had spread everywhere. Some species were scared, others were inspired, and the three great powers were furious. "We're getting messages from smaller species," Bo Young reported. "Some want to form alliances with us. Others are asking for protection." "What does Earth government say?" Tejo asked. "President Daejung wants us to stay neutral. Don't make promises we can't keep." Tejo nodded. That was smart. They had one ship, powerful as it was. They couldn't protect everyone. "Not yet." Heywan walked over from her station looking worried. "Captain, I've been analyzing sensor data from the battle. The galaxy's major powers are moving fleets into position. The Moth Collective has 200 ships gathering near the border. The Velic are calling in reinforcements. The Kryn are on high alert. They're preparing for war, Tejo said quietly. Yes, sir, and we're just one ship. Then we need to make sure that one ship is enough. Far from human space, the leaders of the three great powers held a secret meeting. For the first time in 500 years, they agreed on something. Humanity was a threat that needed to be eliminated. We should have kept them on Earth, one leader said. Never should have let them into space. Too late for that, another replied. Now we need to decide. Do we destroy them quickly or do we try to force them to surrender? Surrender won't work, War Master Gren said. They've tasted equality. They won't give that up, then we destroy them. With what? Gren asked. They disabled 40 ships in less than a minute. How many ships do we need to send? 100? 300? And what if they have more weapons we haven't seen? That created worried silence. The human ship had used simple railguns in the battle, but it had that weapon that disturbed subspace. What else did it have? What else could it do? We gather our forces, the Moth Collective representative finally said. We show them such overwhelming power that they have no choice but to submit. 300 ships. Maybe more. We meet them at neutral territory and give them one final chance to dismantle their weapon. If they refuse, we show them what happens when children play with fire, Veltar said. He had joined the meeting from his damaged flagship, his pride still wounded. We show them that the galaxy has rules and those rules will be enforced. The decision was made. 300 ships would gather at Nexus Prime, the great trading hub at the center of known space. They would call the humans there and demand surrender. And if the humans refused, they would learn what real military power looked like. On Earth, Admiral Sangmi received word of the gathering fleet. She sat in her office for a long time, thinking. 300 ships against one. The odds were impossible. But then again, everyone had said building the Titan's Wrath was impossible. Everyone had said humans couldn't compete with alien technology. They had been wrong before. She opened a secure channel to the Titan's Wrath. Captain Tejo, you're about to receive new orders. We've heard about the fleet gathering at Nexus Prime, Tejo replied. Then you know what I'm going to say. We can't back down. If we dismantle the ship now, we'll never be taken seriously again. We'll go back to being the galaxy's servants. And if we fight 300 ships, then we show them what one determined ship can do. You have full authority to use any means necessary to protect Earth and our interests. That includes weapons we haven't tested yet. Tejo felt a chill. The untested weapons. Hay-1 had told him about them. Experimental systems that might work brilliantly or might fail catastrophically. Understood, Admiral. Tejo, Sangmi said, her voice softer. I know what I'm asking. I know the risk. But our ancestors crossed oceans in wooden boats. They went to the moon with computers weaker than our phones. They always pushed forward, even when everyone said it was impossible. That's who we are. Yes, ma'am, the channel closed. Tejo looked around his bridge at his crew. Hay-1 at engineering, Bo Young at tactical. Yuna had just returned from her rescue mission, looking tired but proud. Dr. Kijun was still in medical, caring for aliens who had wanted to destroy them. Plot a course, Tejo said. We're going to Nexus Prime. All of us? Hay-1 asked. All of us. If the galaxy wants to see what we can do, let's show them. President Daijung stood at the window of his office and watched the sunrise over the Pacific Ocean. Earth was beautiful. He had spent his life protecting it, finding peaceful solutions to every conflict. Now he felt that peace slipping through his fingers like sand. We shouldn't go to Nexus Prime, he said to Admiral Sangmi, who sat across from his desk. It's a trap. They'll have hundreds of ships waiting. We can't win that fight. We can't afford not to go, Sangmi replied. If we back down now, we're finished. The galaxy will see us as cowards who got lucky once. They'll push harder next time and the time after that until we're right back where we started. But 300 ships, I know the numbers. I also know that humanity doesn't survive by playing it safe. We survive by standing up when everyone expects us to kneel. Daejung turned from the window. I'm not a military man, Admiral, but I am the president, and I'm telling you that I'm scared. Scared of what might happen to our people if this goes wrong. I'm scared too, Sangmi admitted, but I'm more scared of what happens if we do nothing. In a small office across the city, Professor Na Young worked late into the night. She was a xenoanthropologist, someone who studied alien cultures. For weeks she had been researching the history of the Galactic Council, looking for patterns, trying to understand how things had gone so wrong. What she found disturbed her. For thousands of years, the three great powers had kept other species weak on purpose. They controlled access to advanced technology. They restricted trade routes. They set up laws that made it nearly impossible for smaller species to grow strong. It wasn't just policy. It was systematic suppression. She sent her findings to Ambassador J. Min. "We're not the first species they've done this to," she wrote. "But we might be the first ones who said no." J. Min read her report 3 times. It explained so much. The harsh trade agreements, the restrictions on where humans could settle, the constant demands that Earth provide resources while receiving little in return. They had been set up to fail, to stay weak, to remain dependent. He forwarded the report to President Dae-jung with a simple note. "Maybe Admiral Sang-mi is right. Maybe we have to stand." At Nexus Prime, the Great Fleet was gathering. Warships arrived every hour, filling the space around the massive trading station with military might. The Velic brought 100 ships. The Moth Collective brought 90. The Kryn Federation contributed 70. And smaller species, hoping to gain favor with the powerful, sent their own vessels. Fleet Master Kyrath of the Moth Collective commanded the gathering armada. He was ancient even by his species' long-lived standards. He had seen empires rise and fall, had fought in wars spanning decades. Now he prepared to crush one upstart species. "When the humans arrive, we will surround them," he told his officers. "We will give them one chance to surrender peacefully. If they refuse, we will disable their ship and take it for study. Then we will dismantle it piece by piece, and if they fight?" an officer asked. "Then we show them why we have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. War Master Gren stood apart from the main fleet in his command ship. He had been ordered to join the attack on humanity, but something bothered him. He kept watching the recordings of the Titan's wrath disabling the Velic fleet. The precision, the restraint, the casual way it had defeated 40 warships. "Sir, shouldn't we join the main formation?" his tactical officer asked. "No," Gren said. "We'll stay here on the perimeter. I want to observe before we commit. The Fleet Master won't like that. The Fleet Master can complain all he wants. I didn't survive 500 years of military service by rushing into traps." On Earth, protests filled the streets. Some people demanded the government surrender, dismantle the Titan's wrath, and apologize to the galaxy. They wanted peace at any price. Others marched in support of the crew, calling them heroes, demanding that Earth stand firm. The planet was dividing along lines of fear and hope. President Dae-jung made a public announcement. "Whatever happens at Nexus Prime," he said, looking into the cameras, "know that our crew fights for our right to exist as equals. They fight so that no one can tell us where we can live, how we can trade, or what we're allowed to build. That's worth standing for." His approval ratings immediately jumped 20 points. Humans, it seemed, were tired of being pushed around. The Titan's wrath traveled through faster-than-light space toward Nexus Prime. In the engineering section, Haewon worked on the experimental weapons. There were 3 of them, systems that had never been tested in real combat. The first was a drone swarm, thousands of small AI-controlled fighters that could launch from hidden bays. The second was a point defense system so advanced it could shoot down incoming fire with near-perfect accuracy. The third was something she called the Quake Drive, based on the weapon that had accidentally announced their presence to the galaxy. But this version was controllable, designed to disable enemy ships without destroying them. "Will they work?" Captain Taeho asked, watching her run simulations. "The drones should work fine. The point defense has a 95% reliability rating. The Quake Drive," she paused. "In simulations it works perfectly, but we've never fired it at actual ships. There could be side effects we haven't predicted." "What kind of side effects?" "Best case, it just disables enemy ships like we want. Worst case, it could tear holes in normal space, create gravitational anomalies, or even damage our own ship." "And you're comfortable using it?" Haewon looked at him with serious eyes. "No, but we're facing 300 ships. We need every advantage we can get." In the crew quarters, Lieutenant Yuna gathered her fighter pilots, 24 men and women who would fly the drone swarm into combat. They looked nervous, which was normal. What wasn't normal was what they were about to attempt. "Each of you will control 50 drones," she explained. "That's 1,200 total. The AI will handle the basic flying, but you'll direct them in combat. It's never been done before on this scale." "What if we can't handle that many?" someone asked. Then we simplify. Focus on the biggest threats. The drones will handle the rest. Remember, we're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to disable them, make them think twice about attacking us. On the medical deck, Dr. Kijun prepared for casualties. He hoped there wouldn't be any, but hope wasn't a plan. He stocked supplies, checked his equipment, and prayed to whatever gods might be listening that he wouldn't need any of it. Bo Young ran tactical simulations on her console, trying to find the best strategy for fighting 300 ships. Every simulation ended the same way. The Titan's wrath was overwhelmed by sheer numbers. She didn't tell the captain that. Instead, she kept running simulations trying to find the one scenario where they survived. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Nexus Prime system. Immediately, sensors lit up with contacts. Ships everywhere, hundreds of them, all in formation, all waiting. They brought everyone, Bo Young said quietly. Taeho stood from his chair and straightened his uniform. Open a channel to Earth. I want Admiral Sang-mi to see this. The Admiral's face appeared on a side screen. Behind her, Taeho could see President Dae-jung and other government officials. They looked worried. We're going in, Taeho said. Whatever happens, know that we're proud to serve. Make them regret threatening our home, Sang-mi replied. Make them remember this day. The channel stayed open. The whole Earth government would watch what happened next. Take us in, Taeho ordered. Full speed toward the fleet, the Titan's wrath began to move. One ship against 300. One crew against the combined might of 3 ancient empires. The odds were impossible. But humanity had never let impossible stop them before. Fleetmaster Kyrath watched the human ship approach on his screens. It moved with confidence, not slowing down, not trying to run. Arrogant fools, he thought. They actually believe they can win. Open a channel, he ordered. Let's give them their chance to surrender. The channel opened. Taeho appeared on his screen. A human in a simple uniform looking tired but determined. Human captain, Kyrath said, his voice echoing across all 300 ships. You have built a weapon that threatens galactic peace. The Council demands you surrender your ship for inspection and dismantling. Refuse, and we will be forced to take it by force. You have 1 minute to decide. Taeho was quiet for a long moment. Then he opened a channel not just to the fleet, but to the entire galaxy. Every ship, every station, every planet with a receiver would hear what he said next. We came to the stars in peace, he began. We asked for nothing but the chance to live free, to trade fairly, to be treated as equals. Instead, you gave us scraps. You restricted us. You profited from our work while keeping us weak. We built this ship because we knew you would never let us build it if we asked permission. We built it because we're tired of asking permission to be free. He paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy. You want us to surrender? To give up the one thing that makes you respect us? Never. You want to take our ship by force? Try, but know this. We're not the same species that came begging to join your council 30 years ago. We've learned. We've grown. And we're done being afraid. The channel closed. Taeho turned to his crew. Battle stations, he said. Let's show them what one determined ship can do. The first wave came fast. 50 ships broke from the main fleet and accelerated toward the Titan's wrath, weapons charging. They were testing, seeing how the humans would respond. Fleetmaster Kyrath watched from his command ship, confident that numbers would win the day. Launch drones, Captain Taeho ordered calmly. Hidden bays along the Titan's wrath opened, and the swarm emerged. 1,200 small fighters, each one controlled by an AI with human oversight. They spread out in a cloud, moving with perfect coordination. The alien fleet had never seen anything like it. Lieutenant Yuna sat in the drone control room, her hands moving across holographic controls. She directed her 50 drones like a conductor leading an orchestra. Around her, 23 other pilots did the same. Together, they commanded an army of machines. The first 50 alien ships opened fire. Missiles and plasma bolts filled space with light and death, but the drone swarm moved like a school of fish, dodging and weaving. And behind them, the Titan's wrath activated its point defense system. Light erupted from hundreds of small turrets mounted on the ship's hull. Lasers so precise they could hit individual missiles. In 3 seconds, every single incoming projectile was destroyed. The alien attack dissolved into clouds of debris and dissipating energy. Drones, engage, Yuna said. The swarm attacked. Small but fast, the drones swarmed around the alien ships like angry insects. They targeted engines and weapons, firing small railguns that punched through armor with surgical precision. Within minutes, all 50 attacking ships were disabled, spinning helplessly, their systems offline. Fleetmaster Kyrath stared at his screens in disbelief. 50 ships gone just like that, and the human dreadnought hadn't even fired its main weapons yet. "Send the second wave," he ordered, his voice tight. 100 ships this time. The second wave launched. 100 warships, a force that could conquer entire star systems. They spread out, trying to surround the Titan's wrath, trying to attack from all sides at once. It was a standard tactic, one that had worked for centuries. It didn't work now. The drone swarm split into groups, each one defending a different section of the human ship. The point defense system fired continuously, creating walls of laser light that nothing could pass through. And when alien ships got too close, the Titan's wrath finally used its railguns. Bo Young had learned from the last battle. This time, she didn't hold back. 200 railguns fired in a rolling barrage that lit up space. Projectiles moving at incredible speeds punched through shields and armor. Ships broke apart, exploded, or simply went dark as their systems failed. In less than 10 minutes, the second wave was destroyed or disabled. 100 ships reduced to floating wreckage and emergency beacons. On Earth, people watched the battle on every screen. In homes, in bars, in public squares, humans saw their single ship holding off an armada. Some cried. Some cheered. Some just watched in stunned silence, unable to believe what they were seeing. President Dae-jung gripped the arms of his chair, knuckles white. "They're doing it," he whispered. "They're actually doing it." Admiral Sang-mi allowed herself a small smile. Never underestimate human determination, but the battle was far from over. Fleetmaster Kyrath had 250 ships left, and his pride was wounded. He had never lost a battle in his 3,000-year life. He wasn't about to start now. "All ships attack at once," he ordered. "Overwhelm their defenses. No matter what it costs, we bring that ship down." The entire fleet moved forward, 250 warships all firing at once. Space itself seemed to burn with the amount of energy being released. It was more firepower than had been used in the last 3 major galactic wars combined, and it still wasn't enough. The point defense system worked overtime, shooting down thousands of missiles and energy bolts. The drones scattered and regrouped, attacking weak points in the enemy formation. The Titan's wrath shields held against the bombardment, the exotic energy barriers bending space itself to deflect incoming fire. But Tae-ho knew they couldn't keep this up forever. The ship was strong but not invincible. Sooner or later something would get through. It was time to use the weapon they had hoped to avoid. "Haiwan," he said quietly, "activate the Quake drive." In the engineering section, Haiwan's hands shook slightly as she entered the activation codes. She had run 1,000 simulations, but this was real. If something went wrong, they could all die. If it went right, they would change the nature of warfare forever. "Drive charging," she reported. 30 seconds to full power. The Titan's wrath seemed to hum with energy. Deep in its core, exotic matter twisted and folded, creating a gravitational wave generator unlike anything that had existed before. The weapon that had accidentally announced humanity's presence would now announce their arrival as a galactic power. 20 seconds, Haiwan said. Her voice was steady now, focused. The alien fleet pressed their attack, sensing weakness. They thought the human ship was faltering. They were wrong. 10 seconds. Captain Tae-ho took a deep breath. Fire when ready. Firing now. The Quake drive activated. Nothing visible happened at first. No beam of light, no massive explosion. But in subspace, waves of gravitational force rippled outward from the Titan's wrath like circles in a pond. The waves passed through normal matter harmlessly, but interacted with ship engines and power systems in catastrophic ways. Every alien ship within 10,000 kilometers simply stopped working. Engines died. Weapons went offline. Even life support flickered and dimmed. The ships didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They just stopped. 250 warships floating dead in space, crews alive but helpless, their mighty vessels reduced to expensive metal coffins drifting in the void. Fleetmaster Kyrath sat in his command chair, staring at dark screens. Backup power gave him minimal lights and life support, but nothing else worked. His fleet, his proud fleet, defeated by a weapon he didn't understand, created by a species he had dismissed as primitive. War Master Gren, watching from the perimeter, let out a long breath. He had stayed back from the main attack, a decision that had probably saved his life. Now he watched as one human ship sat among the wreckage of an entire armada. He opened a secure channel to his government. "Do not engage the humans," he said. "I repeat, do not engage. We are not prepared for this. Not even close." On the medical deck of the Titan's Wrath, Dr. Kijun prepared to receive wounded. But there were none. The human crew was untouched. They had just defeated 300 ships without a single casualty. Lieutenant Yuna and her drone pilot sat in exhausted silence. They had done something impossible. They had fought an entire fleet and won. Captain Teho opened a channel to the disabled fleet. His voice carried to every ship, every crew member, every person listening across the galaxy. "We didn't come here to destroy you," he said. "We came to prove a point. You tried to force us to surrender. You tried to take away our freedom. You failed, not because we're better than you, but because we refused to accept your version of what we're allowed to be." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "We could have destroyed every ship here. Our weapons are powerful enough, but we chose not to. We disabled you instead because we're not monsters. We're not conquerors. We're just people who want to live free. Remember that. Remember that when you had us helpless, you would have dismantled our ship and kept us weak. But when we had you helpless, we let you live." He closed the channel. Around him, his crew stood at their stations, pride and exhaustion mixing on their faces. On Earth, the celebrations began. People danced in the streets. They waved flags and sang songs. Humanity had stood against impossible odds and won. They were no longer the weak species begging for scraps. They were equals. President Daijung addressed his planet. "Today we prove something important. Not that we're stronger than everyone else, but that we deserve the same respect that every free people deserve. We didn't choose this fight, but we finished it. And now we have a chance to build something better." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. For hours, they argued. Some wanted to continue the war, to gather even more ships and crush humanity once and for all. Others urged peace, recognizing that the humans had shown incredible restraint despite their power. Finally, an offer came. A formal invitation for humanity to join the Galactic Council as full members, with equal voting rights and no restrictions on their territory or military. It was everything Ambassador Jae-min had spent years trying to achieve, handed to them in defeat by those who had meant to destroy them. 1 year later, the Titan's Wrath patrolled the border regions of known space. But now it wasn't alone. 3 smaller human dreadnoughts had joined it, and more were being built. But these ships weren't just for Earth anymore. In a revolutionary move, humanity had begun teaching other species how to build similar vessels. Small species that had been suppressed for centuries were finally getting the tools to defend themselves. The old power structures were crumbling. Lieutenant Yuna, now promoted to commander, led humanitarian missions to disaster zones. The drone swarm that had defeated a fleet now delivered medical supplies and rescued stranded crews. War technology turned to peaceful purposes. Dr. Kijun ran training programs, teaching alien doctors human medical techniques.